The following podcast contains strong language and adult themes and is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Lenke Digital presents Damocles, an audiobook podcast by Christian Lenke. Chapter 5. The Training. Drifting through the smoky depths of a dream, I navigated winding corridors. The walls surrounding me were raw and unyielding, cold concrete reaching into the abyss. Ahead was a steel door. I glided through like a ghost. The room was a dark shadow. Opposite me, a huge pane of glass offered a voyeuristic view into another room. There, sitting on an old worn bed, were two girls who looked familiar. I remembered them from the endless field of spotlights and the sword. The voices came from the speakers. Trembling, the girl whispered, "I'm terrified." "Don't you think I am?" came the reply. "What do you think they want from us?" "I don't know. For some strange reason, they seem to hold us captive. I think it has something to do with Mom and Dad. Involving them somehow involved us." "But why?" "Don't keep asking that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's okay, just stop worrying for now." "Well, our parents are rich. Maybe they abducted us for money." "Our parents might not be as rich as we think. Maybe it's not just money. It could be leverage that forces Mom and Dad to do something." "But what could that be?" "I don't know. They were working on something, a project involving some tech hidden in what looked like a silver box. People know Mom and Dad for their work with technology companies. Their specialty is this kind of fancy stuff." "You don't know shit," a voice in the surveillance room snapped. I recognized that voice. It belonged to the boy.
"It doesn't matter. Our priority is to keep them alive. Lenke will take care of the rest,"
another man said. He stood in the shadows near the door. He spoke with a modulated voice, resembling Kylo Ren from the old Star Wars movies. Yet something about that voice tickled at the edges of my memory, a vague familiarity. "How could the old man do that? I've gotten rid of his assistant and left him powerless," said the boy.
"I may despise the old fart, but I know he knows a few tricks. He'll find a way."
"We should have killed him." The man stayed silent, his response cloaked by the shadows. Suddenly, the man in the shadows ignited a cigarillo with a Zippo lighter. "Smoking is not good for your health, boss," the boy pointed out.
"Like reminding smokers of their vices,"
the man in the shadows joked. He approached the glass window and peering into the room where the girls were being held.
"Do the sheiks still partake in purchasing virgins?"
"Abso-fucking-lutely."
"Well, if Lenke cannot meet our expectations, we can always profit by selling the girls."
"That shouldn't be a problem," the boy replied, "but it does not solve our other problem." He scratched his nose in thought, only to freeze in mid-movement. His gaze locked with mine. Then the grin spread across his face as he proclaimed, "I can't believe it."
"What?"
the man in the shadows asked. "The fossil has stumbled upon us," the boy revealed to the man hiding in the dark.
"Lenke is here? How is that even possible?"
"He must have gained a new assistant, someone who has taught him a few tricks. Impressive." "Hey, fossil." The boy waved, his full attention focused on me. "The show's over." The man in the shadows averted my gaze.
"Can he see me?"
"Nah, not a chance," the boy reassured.
"All right, Lenke, you found us. Congratulations. Let's get down to business."
He motioned towards the glass window with a nod.
"If you want the girls alive and unharmed, hand over the silver box and what it contents. We don't care how you do it. If you can maneuver the stream, it should be child's play for you. You have 72 hours. After that, we'll auction off the girls on the darknet, understood?"
All I wanted to do was go up to them and face him. I couldn't move. I was there with them, but kind of bodiless.
"Did he understand me?"
the man in the shadows asked the young man. He nodded. I believe the fossil understood.
"Very well, now leave."
"Next time we will reinforce the security protocols. So please try harder, Grandpa." The boy gestured as if he were slapping together an invisible clapperboard and declared, "And cut." I awoke with a cold sweat. My heart pounded in my chest. As I sat up in the darkness, it took a moment for reality to creep back into my consciousness. Egmont Van Zee, penthouse. A slender hand rested on my chest, and a soft voice broke the silence with a question, "Are you all right?" I turned my head, and there, lying next to me in bed, was Siv, the blonde. She was naked. I felt confused as I tried to figure out how she got there. Siv propped herself up with her arm, causing the blanket to slide down, revealing a glimpse of her flawless form. Embarrassed, I looked away. "Don't be shy, Chief Inspector. I'm sure you've seen a naked woman before in your life." "It has been some time," I said. "You should have accepted Madeline's offer. You need a methodical mind to solve this case. A little relaxation might help stimulate your synapses." "And are you lying here unclothed to aid in the process of synaptic stimulation?" Siv smiled. "I almost get the impression that you don't like me. That doesn't happen very often. I don't know you well enough to form an opinion about you, sweetheart." "It seems you already have. Wouldn't you like to get to know me better before dismissing me?" Siv asked, her free hand grazing my chest. "I was married to the last woman I shared a bed with," I replied. "I am sorry for your loss, Chief Inspector. Your wife was a remarkable woman. At least that's what I gathered from the remaining information about her online." "Yes, she was, but she's gone. So what is it you want?" "I wanted to congratulate you. You've made a breakthrough. Observing within a stream is an art form, and you have mastered it in your sleep." "I was asleep?" Siv nodded. "And what is this?" I asked. "This conversation also takes place during your sleep. However, you have entered another sleep stage. I do not want you in my bed or invading my dreams. Leave me alone." But sadly, that is no longer possible. She pointed up towards the ceiling of the room. I followed her gesture and looked up. Hovering above my head was a sword, radiating a vivid red glow. "Shit," I muttered. "It's code," Siv corrected. "What do you want me to do?" I asked, fixated on the sword suspended a few feet above me. "Your only option is to solve this case. And will the sword disappear then?" "I cannot answer that. None of my candidates have reached the level you have." "You mean you've done this before?" "I am a survivor. I wish to remain alive. But, as you can see..." Siv once again pointed to the ceiling, where a sword also hung above her head. However, this one lacked the vibrant red glow and was made of cut glass, or perhaps rock crystal. "I wish to rid myself of this sword above my head, and that is where you come in. I am a nobody. But this nobody upgraded his implant. When your wealthy and influential opponents deactivated your assistance system, you gained a new one. Instead of hiding, you rescued your friends and continued fighting. You even kept an eye on them. Every intelligence agency would covet someone like you in the world. So once again, congratulations, Chief Inspector. They want me to hand over the silver box with all its contents, whatever that means. If I refuse, the Goldschmidt girls will be sold into slavery." Now I understood the plight of that Atlas guy. "You will find the girls. You will free them, I am sure." "And how do I get my hands on the mysterious contents of this silver box?" I posed, aware of the obstacles that lay before me. "It won't be easy. Emmanuel Goldschmidt didn't want the contents of the silver box, and by the time he did, it was too late for him." I hesitated before meeting Siv's eyes. "Wait a minute, sweetheart. Are you suggesting that you were the originator of the silver box? Is it plausible that Goldschmidt sought the contents of you? Could it be that he felt trapped and his children were already taken?" My mind raced with possibilities and demanded clarity. Instead of responding with words, Siv leaned in and planted a tender kiss on my lips. "You can do this. I believe in you." Then her appearance faded. "Wait, I need to know more." But she had already disappeared. My eyelids flicked open like a switch, the real world surging in to replace the dreams. A rush of adrenaline shot through me as I craned my neck to look at the ceiling. The threat of the ruby blade above my head had vanished. The unclothed woman was gone as well. Sam sidled up to me, her tongue grazing my hand in an affable canine hello. Her tail orchestrated a joyous waltz. "Eat up, walk next. Agreed?" I pitched it at Sam, though more than a statement than a question. Her answer was a heavy head sinking into the bed, eyes locked on mine. The silent question hung in the air, giving credence to her growing anticipation. Fair enough, I grunted, heaving myself upright against the onslaught of gravity. Walk comes first, then. I completed a quick shower and then put on my new outfit: underwear, shirt, pants, and jacket. Everything in black or dark gray. My assistant had done a great job of matching my tastes. As I stepped out of my bedroom, I saw Simon was sitting on a stool at the kitchen bar, reading the news with his implant. He was wearing an old-fashioned robe and slippers. Selma had had suitable clothing bought for him as well. Vincent was still hooked up to the charging station and seemed to still be in sleep mode. "Morning, Simon." "More like good noon," he said, taking a sip from his coffee cup. "Did you sleep well?" I asked. "Sort of. Running for my life isn't conducive to my deep sleep." I put my right hand on his shoulder. "I'm sorry, old friend, and don't be sorry, just mention me in your will," he replied, winking at me. "I'll take Sam out for a walk, all right?" Simon said nothing, just raised his hand in farewell. A high seawall that encircled Egmont Van Zee held its destruction at arm's length. Sam and I walked the sidewalk from our residence to the wall, then traded footwork for escalators to climb the hill. As the billowing gust swelled, the collar of my jacket crept up. A touch of headgear might have been in order. An operating implant would sizzle underneath. Selma chimed in with her usual nonchalance. "Morning to you too, Selma. What was it like for you to be in bed with a woman for the first time in so many years?" Do I detect some jealousy? Men. They think they are the center of the universe. Yet women are the foundation of human society. I agree. Pah! You are jealous. No, I'm just trying to do my job as your djinn. But I can't if you exclude me and travel alone with your implant. You tried spying on the enemy without my help. That was stupid and dangerous. For you, I saw it coming. I put a couple of automatic protocols into effect that prevented your enemies from spying on you. Much obliged, Selma. Why'd you pull a stunt like that? Humans and their irrationality. Wasn't intentional, Selma. A dream took the helm. Lead me to them. Do you have a location? No. Of course you don't, because you can't handle the upgrade of your implant. You don't even understand the basic functions of it. Civ was impressed by my ability to infiltrate our enemy. Of course she was impressed. It served her own purposes. She could listen in through your unconscious connection. Do you think she was lying naked in your bed just for the fun of it? When you put it like that, it sounds a little manipulative, Selma. Allah grant me patience. As our tete-a-tete took a pause, my eyes were pulled towards the horizon line dance of robo-ships, coursing to and from the Amsterdam port. Let's start with something simple. Watch those unmanned ships. You can overlay the data you want on your view. How? Tap into your cognitive image processor. Picture the information echoing in your line of sight. I imagined the robo-ships, but somehow I couldn't get the thought right. Another image slipped into my mind. You're thinking about Civ's breasts. This doesn't have much to do with robot ships, don't you think? You're right, Selma. Sorry. My God, you're 67 years old. I concentrated. Neon markers appeared. They were tied to each carrier, a vibrant horizon chain. African, Indian Ocean, British origin. Focusing on one ship, my mind's eye bathed in information. A British freighter, a scrolling list of goods, container by container. A flash of orange among the blues and greens. A hiccup highlighted in our system? Groundwork. Find out. Selma's voice urged, forcing my mind to focus on the anomaly. No internal view, but a buzzing signal beeping from within. Time was slipping away as I worked my way through the gray static. And then, like an old radio finally tuning in, I made contact. Then, with a jolt that made my bones vibrate, I found myself in the steel capsule of the cargo container. The place was teeming with people, standing, sitting, crammed together like worn bowling pins in the narrow steel belly of the beast. Their clothes were as varied as their faces. They gathered their lives into mini suitcases, backpacks, cloth, and plastic bags. The crowd was white, each absorbed in their digital realities, lost in their neural enhancements. A few held small children, pacifying them with trinkets or bits of food. "And these folks are?" I asked Selma. "UK's refugees," she said, "smuggled across to Amsterdam. France strapped up its border when Britain's exodus to the EU multiplied. Smugglers now opt for a tad longer detour via Amsterdam." "Refugees," I echo under my breath. "Say again, love?" A bloke huddled on the container floor to my right pitches up in clear English. I shook my head. Would I be able to meddle with this woman's implant? "Yes, you can take control of them. It's what we call the demon or puppet mode." "Dear God, is there anything this damn upgrade can't do?" "It has its limits, sure, but we're a long way from reaching it. Shall we push on?" "If you please." "Should we alert the Coast Guard, Border Patrol? Have them apprehended the refugees?" "Why the hell would we do that?" "You're a cop. Technically, these refugees are outlaws." "Perhaps. Morally, no, and it's out of my jurisdiction anyway." "Fascinating. You seem to sit at odds defining desolate people as felons. It is undeniably true, even if it means bending the letter of the law. Like I said, out of my jurisdiction." "I understand your attitude, but you understand that those for whom this implant was intended no longer have the same feelings. In a global world, local duties don't hold water. Market laws are all that matter. And my actual body stands on a construct that was only necessary because very few people did business with this thinking of globalization. And that has now brought us the consequences of the climate crisis. So your position is that these people have a right to a new home?" "Of course." An abrupt pause gripped the air. Then Selma chimed in. "I believe joining you, Chief Inspector, was the correct decision." And as suddenly as I had entered the implant of the young mother from Manchester. So I stood again on the seawall in Egmond, the robo-ship flags disappearing from my sight. Sam tugged at her leash and led me on a short walk. She did her business near a broken-down telescope with a coin slot, a relic of a time when cash still circulated within the European Union. "All righty." "What's on your mind?" Selma replied, her voice resonating in my thoughts. "I want to see those swords now," I declared. "The advantage that you have here is that you have already seen the swords. This will make it easier for you to activate this mode. Imagine the swords and call their name." "Damocles," I whispered, and crimson blades materialized above the heads of every person on the seawall and throughout the streets of Egmond. "Now what?" "You choose a target, confirm it, and that individual is retired," Selma explained. "Retired, huh? That's the official term for taking someone out with the Damocles mode?" "That's right. A euphemism deliberately chosen to soften the blow of executing someone. So someone activated their Damocles mode, selected their targets, and simply wiped out Emmanuel and Vanessa Goldschmidt?" "They were retired, yes," Selma replied. "But murder is murder. There's no escaping the fact that it's a heinous act, regardless of what you call it." Casting my gaze around, I noticed I wasn't the only one walking their dog on the sea wall. Looking down into the city, I observed a handful of tourists meandering through the pedestrian zone. A crimson sword hovered above each of them, indifferent to gender, age, or species. So I could just choose any of these innocent people and order their demise? That's the power you possess now. Does the idea tempt you? No, it repulses me, I responded, needing a moment to compose myself. Hold on, Selma, we'll continue our conversation in a bit. The chill in the air was seeping into my bones. I descended the escalator, returning to street level. Seeking respite, I settled into a cafe and ordered a Pharisee, a fitting drink considering the cold weather and the newfound knowledge of humanity's sinful capabilities. The sip offered a hint of solace, calming my troubled mind. Now let's carry on. I mentally picked up our discussion. What I want to know is whether there's a record, perhaps log files, for the Damocles mode. Is there a register or directory documenting who started a kill, when, and where? The encryption uses the most advanced algorithms. Decoding it is extremely challenging. The stringent security goes hand in hand with the exclusivity of this technology, Selma informed. Naturally, contract killings demanded delicacy. We had to tread carefully. Can you identify any patterns of unexplained deaths or accidents involving people like the Goldschmidts, who had deep connections with the rich and powerful? In Germany alone, there have been several dozen cases. That many? I questioned, astounded. 63 in the current year, Selma confirmed. And in North Rhine-Westphalia? 12 cases. What about Bochum? 9, including the Goldschmidt couple. 9 murders in Bochum alone. Why haven't I heard about them? It's quite simple. They labeled all deaths as accidents conveniently. Of course, my mistake. Now tell me, who were the investigating officers in these cases? Chief Inspector Hubert Siska was the sole investigating officer of all 9 cases. That's worth noting, but it shows nothing. It's his job to handle these accidents. Now, who were the other 7 victims apart from the Goldschmidts? 2 were prostitutes, 2 were cleaners, Selma added. A software engineer, a lawyer, and a private investigator. All accidents? That's correct. The prostitutes may have possessed compromising information about their clients. The software engineer likely stumbled upon the same damning knowledge as the Goldschmidts. That left the cleaners, the lawyer, and the private investigator. What could have motivated the killings of these individuals? The cleaners were accused by their employer of negligence before their accidents. The crucial incident involved one cleaner mopping the kitchen floor, but the lady of the house told her not to pick up the chairs because she was worried they might cause damage. Tragically, the householder's toddler pulled herself up on one chair. The kitchen had already dried, except for the parts underneath the chair legs, which remained damp. As a result, the chair slipped and the child suffered a nasty fall. The lady of the house was livid, venting her anger to her husband. Selma detailed. Someone orchestrated a cleaner's death because the kitchen chair legs were still wet. It would appear so, Selma confirmed. Is there any connection between these victims? I assume these are the workings of the Damocles mode. After the cleaner's death, her husband sought legal counsel, suspecting foul play. The lawyer then hired a private investigator, who consulted a software engineer. Within days, the engineer, the investigator, and the lawyer met their untimely ends. The husband of the deceased cleaner, who was also a cleaner, perished after. 2 days later, the 2 prostitutes met a similar fate, Selma recounted. So you believe that all these accidents are interconnected? Given the chronological sequence and the connections between the victims, it's a reasonable hypothesis. So it could have happened like this. The rich and powerful man or his wife give the order to murder the cleaner. Seeking legal advice, the victim's husband, who is also a cleaner, visits a lawyer. The latter hires a private detective. The snoop hires a software engineer who eventually finds out that the whole thing stinks big time. Perhaps he also gains knowledge of the Damocles mode. Very dangerous knowledge outside the rich and powerful. As a result, the software engineer has a tragic accident. Someone kills him. The private detective also has an accident, and finally the lawyer and the client, the husband. But how do the prostitutes fit in? The alleged accidental deaths of the 2 prostitutes put me on the trail. They are evidently just collateral damage. The rich and powerful man booked these prostitutes several times. Presumably, he did not want his name to be associated with these women. He received them in his official downtown Bochum apartment, where he often sought solace from work or family issues. The apartment complex's surveillance cameras, along with his implant signature, gave him away. The man is an entrepreneur. So we can trace this string of 7 murders back to 1 incident and 1 perpetrator. 9 murders. The entrepreneur runs an implant software company. The software engineer and the Goldsmiths worked for him as freelancers. The Goldschmidts may have discovered that their work was used to commit murder. That might have given them qualms. They made the silver box for the entrepreneur, but they didn't want to give it to him anymore. This would only have given him more power. The entrepreneur then had the Goldschmidts' 2 daughters kidnapped. This is a plausible scenario. Thus, the meeting between this Civ and Emmanuel Goldschmidt would have been a meeting about ransom negotiations, exchange of the silver box for the release of the girls. But something went wrong. The entrepreneur had no intention at all to reunite the Goldschmidts with their daughters, let alone to let Emmanuel Goldschmidt and his wife live. Emmanuel Goldschmidt dies in a tragic accident with a cargo drone and his wife in the swimming pool of their home. But if that's how it all went down, then yes, that would mean that this Civ is working for the entrepreneur. That's very disturbing, because this Civ can track you through your implant using the stream, and since she knows where you are, the entrepreneur knows this as well. As a result, you are in grave danger. "It's not just me," I said out loud. "Can I get you anything? Maybe some more water for your dog?" the waiter at the cafe asked me. "No, thank you." I paid the bill for my implant and left the cafe with Sam. My gaze shifted upward to search for cargo drones in the sky. None existed. However, the possibilities for accidents were endless. I hurried back to the hotel as fast as I could. Thank you for listening. To learn more about Heinke Digital Audiobook Podcasts and its author, Christian Heinke, please visit heinke.digital.